Hi, this is Rakesh Kumar. I am working as a research associate in National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, India. So in today's talk, I'll be talking about why we need an alternative onto-epistemic understanding for the health knowledge system for the 21st century hunter-gatherer. So in for presentation outline, in this presentation for 10 and 12 minutes, I'll be talking about what is like to be hunter-gatherer in 21st century. 21st century hunter-gatherer and health, their health issues. Why do hunter-gatherers' health knowledge system matter to us? And why we need an alternative onto epistemic understanding of health knowledge system for the hunter-gatherer. So data supporting for this hypothesis has come from 4 hunter-gatherer tribe of Nilambur Valley, Kerala, India. These are like Arnadan, Chola Naikans, Katu Naikans, and Panyan. So these populations are these 4 tribes are very less in population. Hardly for Chola Naikans, the total population is 112. For Arnadans, 90. This is somehow all this distribution of demographic profile of these all the selected 4 hunter-gatherer group. So without wasting any time, I'll just go to the next slide. So what happens? What is to be like a hunter-gatherer in 21st century? So as we all know, hunting-gathering tradition has been known as the oldest and enduring subsistence strategy, and as well as the simplest way of economic production. But what happens now, after the nation-state formation and this nation-state formation, so what nature becomes natural resources. So earlier, when hunter-gatherer practice has started in the last Pleistocene geological epoch or after that, so this nature was in nature for them, but this nature was not a natural resource in current scenario what we are experiencing now. So this when this nature becomes natural resources has bring out different kind of change in hunter-gatherers' life for 21st century hunter-gatherer, and as well as more than that, the government policies and providing them shelters, PDS system, all this has contributed to change the hunter-gatherer, the earlier hunter-gatherer and this 21st century hunter-gatherer. There is some kind of dissimilarity which we found here, but so now and along with that, this government forces and this. So there are many natural forces like the unavailability of forest product because of this invasion of mainland people to the forest area, biculturalization, cross-border exchange, geophysical relocation of the various because of various government programs, change in social network, demographic pressure of this community, because once the community gets settled, their demographic profile suddenly started booming, population started increasing, population density started increasing because of that. So what all these things when in 21st century it's happening, what makes this hunter-gatherer, what kind of experience they used to have. So because of this kind of change, there is a drastic change in their settlement pattern. Now this nomadic hunter-gatherer mostly in the settled or semi-nomadic kind of structure. Their food habit has been completely shifted from their earlier traditional food habits. Their population size and population density has already talked about that. Social structure has been completely changed because of this new kind of transition. Their as well as their relationship with environment and the proximity with animal also has been changed because of this transition. So what is this relation of this transition with health? So in few slides I'll be talking about that, but before that I'll be talking about this, what happens when hunter-gatherer is a hunter-gatherer and how this hunter-gatherer is exposed or exposure to this health and health issues diseases are there. So as we know that hunter-gatherers are very either direct or indirect exposure to this health disease vectors like parasites or insects or snake animals, any kind of this. So this can happen at various levels during their hunting, during gathering, during consuming contaminated food, or getting direct bite from a snake or other organisms like that. As well as their seasonal change in the landscape, dietary shift I've already talked about, and as well as the accident and injuries are also major cause of their health problems. And then proximity with animal because of this transfer of genetic disease. We have seen several research has been done on this genetic disease about that. And poor waste management, and once they used to settle in the permanent settlement area. So this is just few pictures I am showing about this data supporting. This is the hunter-gatherer tribe of Chola Naikan, named Chola Naikan from Nilambur Valley. So this was their traditional way of living in the caves, and they are still practicing the living. This is the very recent picture of that. And then what government is trying to do, government is trying to make them settle in a permanent location like this. But we see, when we see this, compare this both two pictures, we see a complete change in their lifestyle. They are trying to be settled. Government are making them to settle, but there is a very strong resistance from the community within itself, because even if the government has provided them to house, but they are not living in the permanent house they have government provided. They have built their separate house above the top that houses. Because when I asked this question, why you build that house, you are not using the house government has made, they told that there are different kinds of layer. If I start talking, this needs a separate presentation itself, but I'll briefly I'll talk about that. So there is a conflict over a space. They do not want, they are not very used to uplift in like compartment house. They have like very surface flat, and then the animal risk, threat of animal are also there, because if they will make their house at ground level, elephant, basically Nilambur area is very much for wild elephant, known for very wild elephant. So this kind of problems are there. Well, so they try to shift their from the permanent government provided permanent localities to their earlier tradition in caves and all. So in this topic, in anthropology, we have always seen that, so since this population is very like low, hardly any population like total density cross from like 150. So I have collected a very limited number of data for that. But we have always seen that there is a knowledge invariability, because since this research is focuses on health knowledge system, so I'll just consider it when I talk about this indigenous knowledge system, consider it as a health indigenous knowledge system. So we found that there is a uniformity distribution between male female when we talk about this knowledge system, though there is no permanent healer or kind of thing, but knowledge is distributed as a collective knowledge system. But still we find this knowledge in non-informality distribution of knowledge system. And knowledge invariability was very much there, because the people who are more in gathering or more going to forest regularly, they have more knowledge about medicinal plants and all, rather than the people who are doing home like household works. So in that sense, we found this knowledge invariability is very much more concerned in that situation. But now comes to this: what is their ethno-epistemology of their health? What they think about health? So from our interviews and focus group discussion, we found out that for them, health is related to two things. One is this normal functional ability, and another is the productivity. And then this normal functional ability and productivity has a very social context. Suppose, for example, when I asked that how do you identify a child is sick, so they told that they will start playing, they will stop eating. So these are the normal functional ability. And for older also, they stop going to the forest. But when I ask this question, how do you think about this when some woman is pregnant? She is not also functional like before. She is not very productive in that sense. But for them, this disease or this consideration of ill, sick, it has very socially constituted context. So in that context, they told that pregnant women are not sick, neither disease, because they are productive and they are contributing to the larger social goal, that is the producing progeny. So in that sense, we found out that their health knowledge system is really very socially constituted. And when we talk about go deeper and deeper, then we found that their health and healing knowledge system is nothing but it's like a quasi equilibrium between nature, human, and supernatural forces. And because when we talk about healing, so there is a lot of medico-medicinal practice, religion comes into the picture, and their mantras come into the picture along with the herbal medicine, animal fat, and everything. So we find out that this kind of relationship. Lapling has also largely talked about this kind of polyphagic culture, and they associated this kind of culture as a polyphagic in this biogenetic structuralism. So in that sense, we found out there is a very much a nexus between the mind, matter, and experience when it comes to the concept of health and healing among the hunter-gatherer tribes of Nilambur Valley. And we also think that their knowledge system or getting of knowledge system is very action oriented and collective knowledge system. As I also talked about this there, because their knowledge system is from intergenerational transfer. If you see that their knowledge, their both kind of transfer is like intergenerational transfer of knowledge is there. One is this vertical from father to children to them, and then the collective from the peer groups. So and then why it's all this action oriented, because most of the knowledge is because when I asked this question, do you know the name of plant? They told that no, I don't know the name of plant, but I know what is the use of that based on their colors, based on their place where they used to found. So in that sense, they know the plant, their use, but they don't know the nomenclature or the name of that plant. And this makes their knowledge system is very contextual, And then the other thing is that their knowledge system is very ecological storage based. They are not practicing practical and social storage, which Tim Ingold has largely talked about this practical and social knowledge system, but ecological knowledge system. So in that sense, the ecological storage, because when I ask this question, do you collect knowledge and the medicinal plant in advance, and then no, they don't know. We do not collect medicinal plants in advance. When we require, we go to the forest and collect this medicinal plant. So all these things make their knowledge system very culturally situated, as well as dynamic mixture of past and present. Why I told this past and present, because because of this drastic transition, or there is a rapid transition in their lifestyle. So there are various kind of present intervention has also come into their knowledge system, their identifying method of identifying or remembering. So as well as this, we found this knowledge system as well as the cognitive capacity, because sometimes interest memory also forms a very large goal in that in the health knowledge system, or the knowledge system of indigenous healing society. But one more thing is that for their knowledge system is very secret and secrecy, and the secret and secrecy, what I found out that for them it's to claim their ownership over that knowledge system, as well as the protection of the knowledge system. So nowadays, like when the mainstream population started invading in the forest area, so many of this forest knowledge system or the forest has been destroyed, and then along with that, their knowledge system was also destroyed with that. So what is the relation between this transition and their epistemology? So what happens when a community or a group of people from that community separated from their earlier traditional landscape? So it's very difficult to identify and deduce their epistemic structure of their knowledge system. Why? Because on the primary contextual space, their belief, knowledge, worldview has been formulated in the form of symbol. Once that landscape or the primary context has been gone, so then now their knowledge system become meaningless, both for the researcher or the outsider, as well as they themselves become that from themselves also. So this we have seen this intergenerational conflict I'll talk about in the coming slides. And this lead to the larger shift of meaning and disposition of experience belief, because as we know that their knowledge system is mostly experience based, which places them as posterior, because then this shift transition has itself changed their experience of their knowledge system for this newcomer or the child who is not experienced the prior worldviews or the belief system is become meaningless to them. And these are the four different kind of stages. What because this, when the shift is there, this cultural framework bring shift in their working experience, cognitive process, ontogenetic history of the particular social framework, cultural pattern and meaning experience, thoughts, feelings. Basically, in totality, their whole mode of being itself will change because of this slightly change in their settlement pattern, or their food habitation and etc. And then if and then and the another level problem started when this transition is very rapid. And the diversity of the and fluidity of the transition do not give enough time to transmute the characteristic of individual as well as society along with their norms, custom, beliefs, decision making process itself. So all this process started because of that, this reposition and recalibration of social relation negotiation with this new adapted culture used to create, and which leads to this confusion, emotional state, and some kind of social dysfunctioning, and at the larger level, cultural drift. And this we have seen this kind of disposition among the younger versus older. Whenever this population, when the either the population graph is skewed towards elder generation or the older generation, this conflict is very much obvious. And in that sense, when I talk about this different kind of model, so we see that various kind of diseases which in Western onto medical terminology or the bioaesthetic medical terminology, which we consider as a disease, for them this is not a disease, because and then this older generation, but for the younger generation this is a disease because of there is a conflict of worldviews. The younger generation are more tends toward this Western centric approach for this health and healing, whereas this elder generation have their own philosophy and worldviews based on their experiences. But definitely their experience has been changed. But for the new kind of diseases, there is no reference in their old worldview, so they are not able to associate or accept those kind of diseases as their harm. The kind of diseases can harm their lifestyle also. So this is one of these diseases, skin disease, which you can see in the picture. And the other disease is like related to vitamin deficiency, which I already talked about how this food habit has changed. And in all kind of archaeological, bioanthropological, as well as the historical epidemiological research has been talked about largely how this shift in diet or shift in settlement pattern or either change in relationship with animal or proximity. So this all kind of research has already talked about. So I'm not going to waste my time on citing all these examples. So, but we have seen that these kind of diseases have no reference in their worldviews, and so this creates a serious kind of questioning whether we should go with along with their older worldviews of diseases, or we should go with their newer this Western centric worldview for this disease and their healing tradition, or the healing tradition for them. What is best suitable for them? So, and in this,
sorry, Rakesh, you
sorry.
have to wrap up. You have to wrap up.
Just this
Time's
is
up.
last slide.
Okay,
So this
perfect.
all creates a kind of a situation which required a new ontopistemic model, because we know that change is inevitable. So we cannot neither isolate those people from this mainstream population, as well as we cannot introduce our Western centric worldviews to them. So all this creates a demand for the new ontopistemic understanding for their whole system, so that these people can enjoy both the time of their traditional worldviews, belief, as well as their good health. Thank you very much.